Hey, welcome to Draft Academy. My name is Mike. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to build a basic calculator in PHP. So we're basically going to design a little program where the user can enter in two numbers, and then our program will add those two numbers together and print out the result. So it's going to be a pretty simple calculator, but this should show you guys how we can get numbers from the user in PHP. So down here, I have a basic little program set up, and essentially in my HTML, I just have a form, and the action is set to site.php, and that's the name of the file that I'm currently on. And then over here we have the method as get. And in the last tutorial, I kind of explained what all of this was doing. And then finally down here we have this submit button, which is basically going to submit the form so that we can access whatever the user entered in our PHP, which I've placed down here. So the first thing we need to do if we want to build this calculator is we're going to need to get information from the user. So essentially we're going to need to get two numbers from the user, right? We're going to need to get those two numbers and then we can add them together and print out the result. So what we should do is we should actually create two inputs. So we're basically going to create like two little input boxes where the user can enter in those numbers and then we can grab that information. So I'm going to create two of these little inputs. I'm just going to say input, and I'm going to say type is equal to, and in HTML there's actually a special type we can use for numbers. So you can just say number, and so type equal to number is basically going to make it so the user can only enter in a number, so they're not going to be able to enter in text. And then over here we can just give this a name, so I'm going to say name is equal to, and we'll just call this num1. So this is going to be the first number that they're going to enter. Then we can just make like a break tag, and then I'm going to do this same exact thing. So I'm going to copy this, and we're going to go ahead and paste this down here. And again, the input type is going to be a number, but I'm going to call this one num2. So now we have input boxes for the first number and for the second number, and we have our submit button. So basically what's going to happen is when I click that submit button, this information, the information inside of both of these boxes, is going to get submitted and we'll be able to access it from within our PHP. So down here in the PHP, what I want to actually do is I want to get access to those pieces of information, to num1 and num2. And essentially all I want to do is add them together. So what I could do is I could actually just say echo, and I'm basically just going to echo out the result of adding those two numbers together. So what we want to do is we want to get the first number, and I can just say $_get in all caps, and then I'm going to make an open and close square bracket, and inside of here I'm just going to say num1. And essentially what this is going to do is it's going to get whatever the user typed into that first number box, and it's going to put it over here. And then what I want to do is I want to add num2 onto it. So I'm going to put a plus sign here, and I'm going to essentially do the same exact thing. I'm going to say $_get, open and close square brackets, and we're going to say num2. Essentially what we're saying here is I want to echo out into the HTML num1 plus num2. And because both of these were entered in as numbers, in other words, because I said the type of input was going to be a number, PHP will actually add these numbers together as if they were actual numbers. So if I put like 2 and 3 in there, we should get 5. So this will go ahead and print out the answer. And then I'm just going to come over here and I'll say answer, and then we'll be printing out the answer. So let's go over to our HTML, or to my browser. I'll refresh the page, and you'll see over here we have our two text boxes. We have our submit button, and then over here it says the answer is 0, and that's basically just because we haven't entered in any numbers yet. So if I came over here and I said like 10, and then down here we said, I don't know, 21, now this will give us the result of adding those. So I'm going to click submit, and down here it says 31. So that is essentially how we can go about adding two numbers together. Now I want to show you guys one cool thing. So if I was to make this browser window a little bit bigger, you'll notice up here inside of the URL, we have these little line over here. It says num1 is equal to 10, ampersand num2 is equal to 21. And essentially what this is doing is it's telling us what the values of those variables were. So with PHP, this can actually get added onto the URL. So if I was to change this up here in the URL, like if I changed num2 to like 50, and then I clicked enter, this is actually going to change the information that gets entered in. So without having to type numbers inside of here, like without having to do anything, I was actually able to change what the answer was down here. And this is sort of a key concept in PHP, and I wanted to introduce it in this tutorial. Anytime that we're entering in information with that form, when the form gets submitted, the information that got submitted is going to appear up here in the URL. And so essentially what's happening is when I load up this page, I can give these different pieces of information. So I say like num1 is equal to 100. And now, since I said num1 is equal to 100 up here in the URL, it's going to take the value of num1 as 100. So when I click enter now, num1 becomes 100, and it adds those two numbers together. So like I said, whenever we submit that form, that information shows up here. So if I was to get rid of this and I just hit enter, you'll notice that this whole form gets reset. But now if I put in like 40 and I put in 30 and click submit, it's essentially just adding these things onto the end of the URL, and this information is basically telling us what this answer is going to be. So that's sort of like how that works up there in the URL. And that's not like, too important. Later in the course, we can actually leverage those URLs to do different things. But like I said, I'm going to talk more about that later. But I just wanted to kind of mention it so you guys aren't confused if you see that stuff up there in the URL. So this program works pretty well, and we're able to add different numbers together. And this kind of shows you, instead of getting text, how we can get numbers, and we can actually do math on those numbers in our PHP program. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to Draft Academy to be the first to know when we release new content. Also, we're always looking to improve, so if you have any constructive criticism or questions or anything, leave a comment below. Finally, if you're enjoying Draft Academy and you want to help us grow, head over to draftacademy.com/contribute and invest in our future.